All right, here we go. All right. Welcome to the Mama Chat podcast, which is usually hosted by Donna Schwartz-Mills, but I get to be in the hot seat today with my friend Aliza from crooksandliars.com. And we might be joined by a special guest later. I don't know. We've sent an invitation and we'll find out. This is going to be a free-for-all because Donna's not here and I'm actually working off a Google Doc to know what I'm doing. So, hello, Aliza.
Hi, it's been a while. Sorry I missed you guys last week. I was on the IL for a while, but I'm better now. I can look at screens and everything, and
So you're back.
I'm
Yay.
back. I'm back. So I missed you last week,
You
and
too.
2 weeks ago, actually, it was.
Yeah.
Because you guys we were dark last week, but
Yeah.
anyway, it's good to see you.
Me
And
too.
I feel like we have a lot to talk about because for me, it feels like it's been 3 weeks since we've talked, but it really has for you. It's only been 2 weeks.
Right.
But in those 2 weeks, I mean, we could go down the list of, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with like yesterday and go backwards, or do
Yes,
you want?
please.
Is that like what we have most recent memory of? And then
My little pea brain can't reach back 2 weeks
I
without.
know, me too. And like when I free for all, I mean, it's not going to be the free for all it would be if I was drinking, but
Oh, darn. Well,
I
that's
mean,
right. You better not drink because,
I know I'm not drinking right. I'm drinking Fresca, but
I'm drinking hint water. I'm going to go drink the real stuff later.
yeah, me too.
So,
But this past 2 weeks, right? I can do that. Or it's been almost 3 weeks.
yeah, exactly. So you can do
um,
it. So,
I can.
yeah, I mean, we have like a ton of stuff. What do we want to start with? Do we want to start with the CNN shit show?
I think so. And I hate it because I don't want to give them any more attention.
See,
But
I really hate it because I used to work for them when they actually did have integrity.
when
So,
they did, when they were a news organization,
mhm.
um, but I didn't watch any of it.
I didn't either.
I haven't even clicked on any of the links because I can't stomach the sound of his
I
voice.
just want to give you a little tip that I learned this week from Facebook.
Oh, do.
Somebody called him pig anus mouth.
Yeah.
And as soon as I thought of him in those terms,
Mhm.
just spewing shit from a pig anus mouth, I
Yeah.
was able to actually listen to him. Because visually, it's just like he's not a person. He has no control over me. He's just shooting shit. It's interesting. So
Huh.
yeah. So, but I say with that caveat that it's just as annoying. Whatever comes out of his mouth is one thing, but it's just as annoying that he's taken seriously. Like, I don't know what it's going to take for people to say this man is not serious. He is unserious about literally everything. And he's a fascist and he's a dictator and he needs to be gone. Like,
It's that's what's maddening.
yeah.
Truly maddening to me, that they treated him
Yeah.
like any other candidate again
Mhm.
after all of it.
They actually treated him like more than any other candidate because he's already said, said straight out, I will not participate in debates for the Republican primary. Well, you know what? All those other Republicans are going to participate in debates. They're going to be on the same stage, talking to one another, talking to the audience, doing whatever. And he gets his own stage with his own, host to who he can beat up as he chooses to. I mean, and just a word on Caitlin Collins. Okay, I don't want to bash her as much as like a lot of people are. She let a lot of stuff go, but that format was impossible. There's no, she was set up to fail, and she did.
There is, unless she went completely rogue,
Mm-hmm.
then there was no other way for her to go and keep her job.
Right.
But she was auditioning for the 9 o'clock slot,
Mm-hmm.
and she got it
Right.
because she didn't push back. She didn't, you know,
She did sometimes, and
she
some things
rolled over when he called her nasty.
I,
She
see,
didn't.
I would have left the stage when he did that. If he'd done that to me, it would have been
Right,
like, either you leave the stage or I leave the stage, but we're done.
right, yeah.
Right.
And it's just, this is not how, I mean, I don't know if you watched the Lawrence O'Donnell segment that one of our Crooks and Liars colleagues put in our Slack from
Mm-hmm.
last night. It was about a 15-minute segment,
Yeah.
picking apart not Caitlin Collins personally. In fact, I thought he was kinder than she deserved,
Mm-hmm.
um, to her and her performance. But which is funny because I just admitted that I didn't watch it, but I've read about it.
Well, I mean, you've read it.
I've read about it. I read things that happened and ways that she responded to things that he said. So I'm not speaking from a point of complete ignorance, which is, you know,
Didn't give him ratings, and neither did I. So that's, you know.
right. So, but he made the point, the very, very cogent, insightful, as usual, points that the questions that she and that she was permitted to ask were so absurdly infantile
Mm-hmm. Oh,
that
truly.
that there were no there was no, you know, again, unless she went completely rogue. And I was trying to imagine if I was in her shoes and I had zero fucks left to give, and was, you know, cared about the country and cared about my own personal conscience and integrity, I would have taken that opportunity. Again, this is a big if, but I would have taken the opportunity to have my own personal set of notes
Right.
and gone with my own questions.
Yeah.
I would have played the game up until the very last minute.
Mm-hmm.
And once I was on the stage, treated him the way he should have been treated, with professionalism and, you know, with professionalism, but like a fucking, you know, insurrectionist, sexual abuser, convicted of or liable for, you know, for just found liable, under indictment, under
That was the thing that really,
investigation by the Justice Department, you know, liar, 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 liar,
right.
and watched his crowd, you know, laughing, and asked them what, you know, asked him why these things are okay, why, you know, I mean, and then, you know, watched my career, at least at CNN, tank. But, you know,
Wouldn't
then,
have
you
been
know,
for
the Young Turks would have called me.
I mean, you know, given the later leadership at CNN. So the Caitlin Collins background is that she comes out of a
Daily
conservative.
Caller. She worked for Tucker Carlson, for fuck's sake.
I mean, she went to a conservative journalism school, and, you know,
Yeah.
was raised conservative. So she's come a long way, actually, from Daily Caller, if you ask me. But I mean,
You know, I mean, good for her. I'll give her that. But
won the battle with Don Lemon. I mean, that was, you know, that was her who got him fired. So, you know, whatever. I mean, but that's beside the point. You're right. I mean, somebody with integrity would have developed their own questions. And I was
well,
looking
no,
like,
no, no. I'm not even saying that. I'm saying someone with integrity and the ability to kiss their job goodbye.
right. Well,
Which is not the same thing. I'm not saying she was even in that position. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm giving, you know,
Ron Filipkowski came up with a whole list of questions that she should have asked. And I
Read
mean,
some
some
of
of
them.
them
I
are
didn't
great.
see that. Can you read some of them off? I mean, I
Yeah,
have
that's what
ideas.
I was looking for when you, that's why I kept looking down.
Yeah, no, that's
So,
fine.
Don Jr. said Jack Teixeira was a hero and a patriot for leaking classified documents on the war in Ukraine. Do you agree with Jr. that Teixeira is a hero, for example? You said that tens of thousands of Republican voters were turned away from the polls in 2020 and weren't allowed to vote. Where did this happen and why were they turned away? I mean, why not? You can't just let him keep doing what he's doing and saying that it's been stolen when it hasn't been stolen.
Give me
So
an example of a time. Give me an example of when a baby was ripped out of a mother's womb at 9 months and then killed.
that's another one, right?
Give
Or,
me an example.
there's
At
just,
which clinic did that happen?
right, right. How did you learn about that? Where did it happen? um you know Here we go. Here's another one. When you said that Democrats believe in executing babies after birth, what do you mean? Which Democrats favor that? Where is this happening? How many viable babies were born and executed last year by their mothers in the hospital? I mean, make him own it, for God's sake. Don't just let him like steamroll by on that stuff. But that's what she did. And in other cases she was at least trying to pin him down, but the whole thing was destined to be bad from the beginning. I mean, they cherry
And then
picked
make him ask
a bunch
questions
of
that require
Republican
facts. Yeah. Like,
the dog
Penny. Like ask him questions that aren't open-ended.
yeah,
What can you define the debt ceiling?
right.
What is the difference between what can you define the interstate commerce clause? What how many branches of government are there?
Right.
What's the difference between the deficit and the debt? What just things like that. I would be like, and I would love to hear him define that. Where does it say that the vice president has the ability? What part of the Constitution says the vice president can overturn an election?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that was one that actually really drove me crazy when I saw the clip from that one where he said
Mm-hmm.
that no, Pence was wrong because he could have sent it back to the House and he didn't. I mean, the
And that he wasn't in danger.
right. Yeah. What does he know? Right.
Do you feel you owe him an apology? What
So,
what
I
are
mean,
what are they 5? What are they 5 years old? Timmy, apologize to Sally for having thousands of people erect a gallows and try to hang her.
yeah,
What are they in kindergarten? It's so childish.
it is. I mean, but he's a child. And to that, I mean, he is a man, but he's stuck somewhere at about age 12 and
Stunted.
has
Yeah,
been
not even.
his entire
Yeah.
life. And
Yeah.
if you would like an example of that, we just need to look to E. Jean Carroll and her courageous lawsuit
Yeah.
and courageous testimony, where he was then found liable for sexual assault and defamation.
Yeah.
And it the the thing that drove me crazy about that lawsuit, or the evidence in it, was his
Mhm.
deposition. Right, his deposition, where he's like, yeah, I said that. If you're a star, it's true. I said if you're a star, they let you do it. They let you do it, he said. And then the attorney says, and are you a star? Do you think of yourself as a star? And he says, well, yeah, of course I do. So they don't let you do it, right? As she testified to, she was completely overwhelmed. Plus, with the fact that yes, he was high profile and everything. I mean, I remember that era pretty well, and I remember men doing stuff like that, and being just appalled afterwards that those things happened. to me and to others, and thinking, and I was too ashamed to say anything. I wasn't going to, I mean, I was a married, mom. I who had a job, and it was just, to me, it was just something you had to put up with, basically, at that point in time, if you wanted to have a job. And it's appalling to me that it was like that, but it was. And so I believed every word she said
Yeah.
about the fact that she talked to friends about it, but she never went public. She never did anything about it. She never went to the police because she was ashamed, and he was high profile, and she was afraid, that he would just steamroller. And who, I mean, knowing what you know about the guy, I don't know, but
Let's
6 men and 3 women had
yeah.
no problem seeing that
Yeah.
it was him and not her.
And 3 hours. 3
Yeah.
hours it took for them to probably just figure out what the damages were gonna be.
Yeah, that's what I think too. I mean, I think,
I don't think it took them 3 hours to decide that they were gonna hold him liable.
well, I mean, if it goes like other jury
That's just me.
deliberations that I've, like the ones that I've been in, you there's a list of questions you have to answer, right? Yes,
Mhm.
questions. And I'm
Right.
sure that the foreman just said, "Well, let's see where we stand on this stuff. Let's
Right,
go
right,
through one at a time." And everyone was unanimous except the one on whether he penetrated her or not.
right.
And so they left that one aside. They went to the damages, and then I think they came back to
Work from there.
work from there, and just agreed that they couldn't come to a consensus on that one.
Yeah.
You know, but 3 hours is about the time it took to do those things, and then it was done and it was over, and he's liable, and that was a huge victory, huge. I mean, and thank you to the New York legislature
Yeah.
for opening up that window
For
for
the
her to
statute.
do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's also huge.
Yeah,
And I wanna go back to two things. The use of that language, "They let you do it."
yeah,
Um, that just ties me up be because, first of all, I wanna apologize to anybody, well, not apologize, I wanna explain that if I am halting in my speech a little bit more than normal, I got a concussion a couple weeks ago, so I am now mostly back to normal, but sometimes I still have trouble finding words. Um, so sometimes even the word, like, I can't,
stroke
like,
survivor understands that.
I know you understand, but, anyway. So, but that language, sorry, there's a little craziness going on here.
Hi, doggy.
They let you do it. He People who do those sorts of things have no concept of whether they are being allowed
It's
to do
entitled.
something.
They feel entitled to do
They
it.
just they just do it, and because they were able to do it, they feel like they were allowed to do it.
Right.
They they those two things are equivalent for them. They feel like if they were able to do it, that means they were allowed. And that means the person was okay with it. But what if the person, like, let's take a different action. Let's substitute grabbing somebody by the pussy.
Mhm.
Let's substitute tripping somebody
Mhm.
and say, when you're a star, you
They
can
let you.
trip somebody. They just let you do it.
Mhm.
But what if they're not looking where they're going? What if you're looking this way and walking and someone sticks their foot out and you're not expecting it and you trip, and he would say, "Look, they let me trip them."
Right. Or he
That's
showed
the
them.
same mentality. That's the fallacious reasoning in saying they let you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's letting him do that.
Right.
He's assaulting people.
He thinks he's entitled. He isn't.
Right.
He believes he is entitled to do these things.
But he's not even thinking that. Oh, I'm not talking about him thinking he's entitled. I'm talking about his blaming.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I'm talking about the blaming.
Mm-hmm.
He would trip somebody and then blame the person he tripped for letting him
Absolutely.
trip them. Look, she let me trip her.
Yeah.
And that's the same, like that's the use of the language that just ties me up inside. And I can't get past that. I can't. It really, really gets to me. And I don't know. I'm having trouble because it's an emotional topic and also because I can't come up with the words, but it's just so upsetting to me. And then the other thing I wanted to say is that E. Jean Carroll, after the CNN town hall, said she might sue him again.
Oh, I hope she does, because he defamed her
All the
again.
shit he said.
He defamed her again because he's 12 years old and he can't.
I hope she does.
Yeah,
5 million. Go for another couple million.
why not? I
Why
mean,
the
she'll be
heck not?
lucky to see any of it, but it's the principle of the thing. You know, if
Mhm.
she can do it, she should do it. I could not agree more. Just go ahead and sue the shit out of that guy every time he opens his mouth. And this is the thing that's gonna his mouth is what's gonna get him in trouble, because he's
For
already had a judge say,
hope to God.
you know, listen, if you threaten witnesses or whatever, you're going to be in contempt of court, and
Yeah.
there's going to be consequences for that. This is what he has never learned in his life. He has never learned in his life that if he does something, there's a consequence for it.
Yeah.
His entire whole life, he's gotten away with everything he wanted to get away with.
Yeah.
And this makes me emotional,
Yeah.
because I had a father who managed to get away with all that too. And
Yeah.
they're about 10 years old emotionally, and they don't care who they step on to get where they want to go
Right.
and everything. And the fact is that he has been able to get away with everything his whole life, and he went in and practically wrecked the whole fucking country, right, and got away with it.
And others.
It's just,
Yeah.
it blows me away. So with that in mind, the fact that this verdict has now happened, the fact that he's under indictment, the Trump organization is under indictment, right? Those are all good things. Those are looking for resolutions that will involve consequences.
So help me
Please
get
God,
straight again.
can Jack Smith get in there and I mean, get him, because now we have 14 people who have been convicted of seditious conspiracy.
Yeah.
It's time
And
for the
from
people.
what I've been reading, he gave at the town hall gave quite a few statements that might help Jack Smith button a few
Right,
things up real easy.
that would be nice. Yeah, I mean, he won't testify or go in for depositions or whatever, but
Right.
he opens his yap at these town halls, and
Uh-huh.
or from Mar-a-Lago or Truth Social or
Yeah.
whatever, and it's just as good as, if he was testifying. So yeah, he's out there. He just doesn't think, in his mind, there's never going to be a consequence. He can say whatever he wants. And in some weird twisted fashion, he actually believes the things he says. I mean, he believes that the election was stolen. And I've tried to get through the twisted logic of how he
Mhm.
gets there. And I can't. I mean, you basically have to tell 7 million voters that they're full of shit, and in order to get to that place. So I don't know, but I mean, I see consequences in his future. Like,
I do too. And I see Garland at work, I see Jack Smith at work, I see Fonnie Willis at work. I um I believe I am not so naive that, I'm not dismissive of the people who are impatient, and I'm not dismissive of the people who think, "Oh, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it, it'll never happen." But
Mhm.
I'm also not one of those people.
Yeah.
I believe that this is that this is an understandably slower process than most.
Mhm.
And I get why people are like, I just want to see him treated like any other criminal or like they would treat Obama. Um, yeah, I mean, I want that too,
Mhm.
except that the way they would treat Obama is ruthlessly unfair and
Right.
racist as fuck. And no, I don't want Obama to be treated that way.
Right.
I don't like the way they treated Obama.
Right.
I want Obama to be treated
Okay.
fairly, you know?
Yeah.
And I want, uh, you know, and I want the law applied equally to Trump. And
Right.
what I want is for people who have the capacity to take away the freedom and in, more local cases, the lives of Black people, i.e., the local police departments or some asshole Marine on a train in New York. I would like those people to be more judicious in their use of lethal force or the desire to put away people who are Black or brown.
Mhm.
So no, I go the other way when people are like, I just want to see him treated like Obama. Don't, no, I'm gonna challenge that.
Yeah. I don't want to
I
treat.
would like to see more Black people treated like Trump.
Yeah.
And I think that I don't think Jack Smith is someone to be messed with. I don't think Fonnie Willis is anybody to be messed with. I think Alvin Bragg has a great chance of putting Trump away on the RICO charges and on taxes. And I'm optimistic. You know, I'm not starry eyed, but I feel optimistic.
That's my biggest concern is that time's going to run out. So I'm sure it's his concern too. So I
Yeah,
don't
I
just
mean, we're not the only ones who think that.
he's got that under control. But
Mhm.
you know, there are there, there are consequences coming. Even I know that they're trying to derail Bonnie Willis right now, but I don't. I hope
How?
that
What are they doing? What are they doing?
I will find the article. It's on Crooks and Liars today. Um, but you know, it
Because I feel
relates
like
to.
she has the strongest case of anybody.
I know, I know, and it's a big case too. It is. Brian Kemp signed in the legislation on Friday that could remove her from the case. And the question is, well, whether he'll use it to establish a commission and remove her from that. I hope that doesn't happen. I mean, if it does, that will be one of the most corrupt acts I have seen. I mean, it'll make Nixon look like a piker.
Yep.
And I guess I would imagine that somebody would try to challenge that and take it to court. But even if they did, it would derail that.
It would slow down. Like, how
Right.
could the investigation continue at that point? So
Exactly.
her time really is running out.
It is. So we're going to have
What
to
is?
see.
Yeah, I have to go read that because I want to know what the timeline is on that. How and let's say if she brought charges on Monday, you know, and he signed something into law on Tuesday, what does that do to the charges?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough about that law to know one way or the
Yeah.
other. But this for me is the fire hose that just keeps coming at me is how
Mhm.
corrupt Republicans are, how they are not a legitimate political party. They've not been a legitimate political party for some time.
Down to
And
the DNA of the party.
right, it's the corruption is just astounding, and it's a fire hose of corruption. It just
Mhm.
everywhere you turn, there's more of it. So we have Brian Kemp basically agreeing that, to sign something that should not ever be law, to at the very least to undermine the independence of duly elected district attorneys, at the very least.
Yeah, there's your law and order. There's your
Yeah,
law and order
well,
party.
I mean, law and order. There, should we talk about the Supreme Court? Should we just jump right into that?
Sure, if you want. I mean,
I mean, 2 weeks is a long time, so it's like
it has been so. I feel like 3 weeks for me. I feel like it's been so long since I've caught up with you guys.
I know. So, Clarence Thomas. I mean, and
Clarence Thomas, and let's talk about Elena Kagan and some bagels.
Yeah, well,
and some,
right, Elena Kagan. So Elena Kagan won't even take bagels and lox as a gift because she's afraid it would violate the ethics rules of the court. And Clarence Thomas is over here getting 9-day vacations in Indonesia, floating on a yacht, floating through the islands like a big dog with his big dog friend.
Yeah,
getting his
renovations on his mother's house and tuition for his nephew, and how many millions of dollars in gifts has he received?
That is so frustrating because, first of all, you have to know that it's not just Clarence Thomas. It's just that he's maybe the most blatant of them. But I'm sure Alito, same thing.
Yeah.
I'm all of them. Gorsuch, although Gorsuch reported like really tiny things, so maybe not him. But
I could
like
see
bow and
that.
arrow or something that he got from somebody.
What was that?
He reported like a bow and arrow or something that he got from
somebody. I mean, I could see that. I could sort of see Neil Gorsuch being a little bit of a Boy Scout about that. I could
Kavanaugh. I mean, let's talk about Kavanaugh. I mean,
are you kidding me? I still want to know who paid off his debt.
So I do too. And I got hammered on Facebook by somebody who said, "Oh, you didn't read that his parents are rich and paid him off." Well, you know what? I don't buy that. I do not buy that for a number of reasons, not the least of which is that if you're a parent and you paid off your child's $2.3 million in debt, you'd have to pay a gift tax. I mean, this is a whole
report it
thing.
Yeah, it has to.
Parents can't just give their kids millions.
You can't. There's like a limit. What's it? $10,000 or something?
15,000 now, but
how much is it? Oh, 15,000. Yeah,
15 or 16. But that's the most you can give them in a year. So there is no flipping way that his parents paid off that debt for him
without the IRS knowing.
Right. There's just no way. Even if they did, there's no way that we have to know that they didn't get that money from somewhere, that they weren't just the launderers.
Like the launderers, right.
And everything. So the fact that we can have this discussion and ask these questions is because he didn't disclose this information that he should.
Right, of course, because why would he be upfront about it?
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that drives me crazy. I mean, literally just grinds me every time I think about the Supreme Court and all the decisions that they're making and, how they're running over our lives roughshod. And if it were us who failed to, file a gift tax return or, gave a gift and didn't, over the limit and didn't report it, we, be in shitloads of trouble, heaps of trouble. Yeah. But, for them, hey, no big deal. They can do whatever they want.
They can. They can. Yeah. I mean, I didn't feel like sending whatever, $8,000 to the IRS last month, but, I had to.
Exactly. I mean,
what if I didn't?
Right. But, well, if you didn't, you'd have penalties and the interest would be expensive and they'd come after you and they will
come after me.
Right. And so, the fact is that those justices ought to be like everybody else. And if they do this stuff, they should disclose it. And let's talk about Ginny Thomas. And what you know about Ginny Thomas and what money that Harlan Crow funneled to her is, I guarantee you, just the tip of the iceberg.
Just the tip.
It is. I mean, there's so many ways that he can funnel money to her and not have to disclose it. As an example, he
Yeah.
can give money to a charitable fund,
Mhm.
and then he can funnel that money to a C4 that she controls, and there'd be no path under which you would know that Harlan Crow sent that money to her. None whatsoever. And I promise you those things are happening. I promise you they are. And so, and
And
then
is
you have
that
John
because of
Roberts.
Citizens United, or is that for other stupid tax reasons?
Well, it's actually, it's not Citizens United. I mean, well, I should say that. It's partially Citizens United. So, because now they use C4s to spend for ads and stuff like that. So that
No.
aspect of it is certainly under Citizens United. But
Okay.
even more than that is all these dark money organizations, all
Yeah.
these that aren't spending money on ads, they're spending money on policy, they're spending money on building infrastructure
Uh-huh.
up under the right wing. Those are the things that Cleta Mitchell and her are like this, and
Yeah.
Cleta Mitchell is the author of all these.
Yep.
She's the one who sets them up. She gets paid for setting them up and getting them, tax exempt and
Did she
working
get
for them.
disbarred?
No, she didn't get disbarred. She just left the firm that she was working for.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, these are the things we'll never know. But Clarence Thomas said that he, at some point before he was a Supreme Court justice, that he probably wouldn't want to be one because he couldn't make enough money.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it has to be worth his while.
he's raking in the dough now, man. That Indonesia trip, man, I'd love to go float through Bali on a sailboat. Are you
Oh,
kidding me?
sure.
It's beautiful there.
That's what I hear.
It's wonderful. And I mean, that's just like one of the trips. There's all these others. I mean, the painting of him with the right wing cabal. You saw that, right?
No, I didn't.
It's him and Harlan Crow, and then I don't remember who the other people are, but they're like right wing movers and shakers
Okay.
in the dark money area and stuff. So, and it's like this photorealistic painting of him with them, like sitting in Harlan Crow's backyard smoking cigars.
Gross.
It is gross, and he has corrupted the Supreme Court to the point, in my opinion, where if it's not expanded, then it's not useful anymore, because they're just going to keep ruling for guns and I mean all the things that the conservative causes. They're just going to continue to do that over and over and over again, and
Yeah.
against women and against Black people and all that.
Well, it's not, I mean, that's a given at this point.
Yeah,
That's just a given. Because
exactly.
this court's not gonna, yeah, I mean, the court's gone. The court's gone to us now,
The only
unless they expand
thing
it.
that we have right now with regards to the court system are that Biden has put a lot of his own appointees on the courts, and I stand corrected about Dianne Feinstein. Okay, I said she wouldn't come back to Washington D.C., but she's back in Washington D.C.
Yeah.
She went to the Judiciary Committee, which is the best of all outcomes. I'm
Yeah.
happy to be wrong.
Go, of course, that's fine.
So
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad she's back. She'll do her job. It's not like if she resigned, the Republicans would have allowed a replacement to be, you know,
well, if she had resigned, there would have been a different set of rules. They wouldn't have had the say that they had with regard to the other what she was
right,
proposing was a
right.
substance.
Like it would, this is the best of all possible
It
outcomes.
is. I
So she's back and good. So, and they were still confirming judges while she was gone.
Yeah, they
And
were some really there. I mean, the Biden administration was even really frustrated about the fact that there's some key nominations in that committee that were being held up.
yeah. So, it's done.
Yeah.
And
And the thing is, you can say, oh, well, the ones to blame are the Republicans. But the problem is, we know that. I mean, if
yeah,
we want to get anything done, it's got to be us doing it, the Democrats. And,
right.
and so it's
I'm just not willing to. I'm not willing to shoulder the amount of the blame that a lot of Democrats want us to shoulder. I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to. I still am going to turn it back around on the Republicans who deserve it.
Well, I'm not saying that that shouldn't be, but I'm saying there's two, to me, there's two pieces. There's one obvious obstruction, which has been going on now for 16 years or thereabouts, where there's just nothing that you can get done. And so that, yes, that's obviously a place to criticize. But then on the other side is if we have the power, albeit by slim margins, right? We've got to use it while we have it. That's the thing. And that's why Democrats get pushed, because, like, let me give you an example. Dick Durbin and the blue slips makes me want to throw up every time I think about it.
Same here.
It's like, this is an area where we can blame Democrats because
because they have the capacity to get rid of it and we're not doing it.
Exactly.
Right.
So
and that's maddening. But people are so angry. Like, why aren't people yelling at Dick Durbin about that?
Oh, they are. I mean,
but I'm not hearing that. All I've heard was people are just like raging at Feinstein.
Well, and I was raging at Feinstein, and one of the reasons I was raging at Feinstein is because she's my senator, and I wanted two senators.
I know, I get that. I'm just saying, like, the noise that I'm hearing, I'm not hearing noise about Durbin.
Oh, I
was hearing, okay.
I mean, it just depends, I think, on where your noise,
where your ears are. Yeah, right? I guess so.
So,
but yeah, it's really, but he has a hell of a nerve bitching about Feinstein.
Mm-hmm.
When he's that's
holding up these things with blue slips, right? I mean,
right. When he won't do anything about the blue slips,
right?
So where does he get off criticizing Feinstein?
Stupid thing to do anyway. I mean, what is
so stupid? It's the dumbest fucking Senate rule.
Can block it because why? I mean, I just like
it is so stupid.
Yeah.
So anyway, so it's just anyhow.
So I mean, Democrats do get some. They should get some of the criticism, but obviously, there's always this piece over here, this well that
but again, I mean, you can argue. I guess my question was, what was the alternative for Feinstein at the?
So had Feinstein resigned and Gavin Newsom appointed somebody, there would have been a whole different set of rules. The Democrats would have been able to go ahead and replace her, just like they did. They've done it before when Republicans have died or, in office or had to resign or whatever. So, I mean, it's done. It's been done. It's different rules. Republicans wouldn't have had the power that they had on the substitute idea. Right. The substitute idea hadn't been done before. It was just like a proposition.
But they still wouldn't have been able to. Like, they would have obstructed her replacement on the judiciary.
They wouldn't have had the same power to do it, though, because Democrats would have had the majority and would have overridden them on that. It's like having a new Congress, basically, and Democrats had the majority and got to pick who they put on committees. That would have happened if she resigned. It would have been those rules.
Well, okay, whatever.
Okay.
So she's back.
That's why she's back. And we don't have to have that turmoil. And
right.
As long as she doesn't, hugs Lindsey Graham and all that, I'll be fine.
So let me open up this Crooks and Liars thing so I can read it later. But the
so, I mean, that I'm glad that she's back. I'm glad that she's in the Senate. I'm glad that we have a full majority again. We have both of them back now, Fetterman and Feinstein.
Yeah.
And of course, Mitch McConnell came back too. I was really hoping he wouldn't come back.
I had such hope. I was, oh well.
I know. It's like these guys live out of meanness, I swear.
Just to spite. Just to spite us. They live out of spite. It's like that's why I'm convinced I'm going to live a really long life, because I am petty as fuck, and I will live just to piss off people who don't like me.
Oh, okay.
I'll just stay alive just to piss people off.
Well, that's good.
Anyway.
That idea.
I mean, if they can do it, why can't I?
Exactly.
But
So
uh,
that's so we've got Feinstein back, we've got Fetterman back, we've got everything's good, and but we have the debt ceiling looming.
yes, we do.
The debt ceiling is a problem, and so it looks like I'm going to stick to my prediction
Okay,
that
what's your prediction?
it'll be at the last minute, it'll be at the 11th hour, but at the end, it's going to be Democrats passing a debt ceiling increase in the House, a clean debt ceiling increase in the House with a couple of like the New York Republicans, and that's going to get sent over to the Senate and the clean debt ceiling bill.
You think there'll be a couple Republicans who go with it?
Yeah, the ones that are in danger, the ones
Uh-huh.
that like
In New York?
yeah, that just won in
Well,
New
and
York.
now that Santos
Also in
is going.
California. I mean, there's a big protest in David Valadeo's district yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of restlessness about because basically what Kevin McCarthy has done is passed a bill with using George Santos, who we haven't him yet.
Which we haven't gotten to yet.
Santos was
We
right.
can't miss Santos today. We have to have time for Santos.
Absolutely. So he's the deciding vote on on the bill that essentially would just cut everything but defense by 22%. And then they say,
Yeah.
"Oh, but we don't want to take veterans benefits away." Of course we do.
Because they love veterans so much.
Yeah. So there's this little game in the New York Times today that where you
Yeah.
can do your own like deficit reduction bill. Like you
Really?
can tell it what to cut. Like Tim cut for $1 trillion and saved Social Security and Medicare in the process.
Oh, good for him. Can he run for office?
Yeah. Well, Biden has I think he's got 4 trillion too, and he
Oh, I'm sure.
bolsters Medicare and Social Security in the process. So
Yeah. Well, Biden knows what he's doing.
yeah, exactly. But
If
this
I could only convince, well, I think most people understand that. Does the people who conduct the polls don't like to choose people who know that, but
right. Well,
but
I'm not like the polls right now are so like
polls are
don't
so.
get me started on horse race stuff because
Yeah, I'm not. I don't. I'm not even beginning to pay it attention.
yeah.
My uh, my dad is often distressed about it, and he doesn't. Um, he'll ask me why I don't understand why his ratings aren't better. He's doing such a good job, and I'm like, Dad, but don't pay attention. The polls are stupid. They're irrelevant. They don't matter. They're right. They lean conservative always. Don't listen. And you'll don't, you're missing that one line that says, 80% of Democrats will back Biden, we'll be fine. And,
Well, it's actually more than that.
yeah, of course they're going to,
That's
he knows
80% now. It'll be more,
he's a warrior, and I don't blame him because if Trump, he's
that's why
terrified.
horse race stuff is such bullshit because it's
Yeah,
18 months away.
yeah,
I mean, what happened? There's a lot that's going to happen between now and then, whatever it's going to be. I mean,
yeah,
look at the early polls for Trump, right? And then COVID happened,
yeah,
right? And he completely blew managing that, and so yeah, it just I feel like
yeah.
don't don't bother with that stuff now. But
And but we need to talk. I really want to talk about George
George
Santos.
Santos, yes,
So
George
he's
Santos.
so what is so is he's in federal custody now or not?
No, somebody bailed him out. Well, so okay, I have
So
to say
catch me up.
somebody.
I've been working all day.
So he had a $500,000 bond that had to be put up, and that meant that somebody had to put up 50,000 because 10%.
Right.
Bond. We don't know who that is. All we know is it's three unknown people, but we don't know who those three people are.
Oh, okay.
So we don't know like who owns George Santos at this point in time. I would like to know that, but we don't.
Arlen Crow, Ginny Thomas.
Yeah, right? I mean, it could easily be. Who knows? Right? So, for all we know, it could be Kevin McCarthy. I mean, I don't
Right.
know. I'm just spitballing,
Sure.
and everything. But I mean, the charges are just amazing. So
The
they're
charges
all,
are
I know, and they all relate to 2022. They haven't even gotten to 2020
to
yet.
2020.
And 2020 was worse. They haven't gotten to, cheating the vet out of his, funds for his dog.
Ugh,
Right? They haven't gotten to any of that. This is just what he
not
did
fun.
in the 2022 election, and
Not
it's
fun.
wire fraud and it's, campaign finance violations. And I mean, it's just yummy.
It is
It's-
23 counts total, right? 20,
yeah,
is it?
I think it's 13, but maybe, I don't know. We'll have to, I have to,
I
it's
thought
a
there were
lot.
17 plus another.
Let's see. I'll look it up right now.
Okay. But meanwhile, is he allowed to be in Congress now and still doing his Congress stuff or?
It's 13 counts.
Oh, okay.
And yes, he can be in he could even be in Congress if he's convicted. I mean, unless they expel him, which is what they
Right.
ought to do now, right?
Of course they ought to.
But again, Republicans are criminals,
Yes.
so they won't because
Right. So he can serve from jail. Like this is jail time stuff.
right. Oh yeah, this is like I don't see him getting out of this.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
That's right. He pleaded guilty, I guess, or plea bargained something in Brazil so that he didn't have to go back there to answer those charges over him stealing an elderly man's checkbook and writing a bunch of checks on it. I mean, he is a psycho. Like,
He's a sociopath. He really is.
yeah. And so he's like, I don't know. I mean, I just think it's great that
Oh, I loved that for him. I was so happy. I mean,
I know.
and I want to know who sits with him at lunch. And I want to know who works in his office.
Well,
Like,
he
what
had
do
a
you
lot of staffing problems when he was first there, and then I think he got, I don't know, picked up some Mark Meadows staffers or something.
like
You
is like Kelly Temp girls, are they still around? Do they like go in and out of there? Like what? Who works for him and who like I'm dying to know who
well, he
voluntarily puts themselves around this guy.
intern or junior staffers who need jobs, who are like, "Well, I will work for him."
Oh my God.
But, I mean, there's somebody because he's sponsoring shit, so whatever. I mean, one of the things that blew me away yesterday, one of the charges against him is
Yeah.
for unemployment insurance fraud. So
Yes.
he had a job. He made $120,000 and collected unemployment during COVID. And his excuse for that was, well, I was making like $200,000 and then they cut everybody back to 55,000 because, so that we wouldn't have to let anybody go. Well,
But he was still employed.
still employed. Exactly. And he was still employed by some Florida company that was also paying him. So, and then he collected unemployment. So this is the thing. This is where
How do
we
you
see Republicans be crooks because yesterday he was one of the senior sponsors of and introduced a bill that they passed
Yes.
basically make it so that the feds don't actually investigate unemployment insurance.
Unemployment insurance fraud.
And they passed it. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. These people are just blatantly, it's like every day there's just a fire hose of crime that comes
Do
at
they
you.
go home and put on mustaches that they can twirl? Don't they they must. All of them must.
You
Even
know,
like Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene, they must all have these mustaches that they twirl, and it connects them to some Republican Borg that like fries their brain and turns them into moral shitholes. I am convinced there's something otherworldly at work about the moral rot in this fucking party.
I
I don't I don't know what to do about it, but I mean, I don't know.
well, there may be nothing we can do about it. I don't know, but
Well,
it's
except get Democrats to vote. I mean, that's
well,
like
that's the thing. I mean, I've been saying for years, you know this, you've heard me say
I do.
it.
I do. I know what
Republican
you're going to say.
needs to be done. It needs to be done. It needs to be irrelevant in our politics.
Wait, what needs?
The Republican Party, it needs to be
Oh,
irrelevant.
yes, it needs to be burned to the ground.
Yeah. And it's why it hasn't been is only because people I don't know why. I mean, I don't know why. If I talk to a Republican voter, like there are several in my family, right? They were born Republican, they'll die Republican. That's the thing. Right? It's like that. And I think to myself, well, okay, I was born a Democrat, I died a Democrat. But not if it was like my whole party was a bunch of crooks. I mean, I would be ashamed to be associated with people like that. Right here in Ventura County, one Republican runs for office over and over again, doesn't get elected. This last time, he had these giant signs, supervisor, all over the county. He gets elected by a handful of votes, and then he and the other Republicans on the board repeal all the campaign finance limits, all the limits for the local. So and they did it just in time because he was being investigated for campaign finance violations. That's the kind of shit. And why do people vote for these people? I don't understand. I don't understand it at all. I'm sorry, I just can't. It gives me a headache to try to figure it out. So I don't know. It's crazy. Anyway,
I don't know. They're invested in a myth.
and I don't
They're
even know.
invested in a myth, and they are willfully ignoring the facts. And I can't figure out how it benefits them, other than confirmation in their minds of perceived superiority.
Well, there was an article I just saw. In fact, I opened it up and then I closed all the tabs when we started this. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Because I thought it was like good that it was in a major newspaper. Let me see if I can find it. Of course, now it's probably it's probably buried somewhere. But it was basically the point of the article was, oh, here we go. It's the title of the article is "The GOP is the party of fuck you." It was once a political party. Now it's a nice populist scam. That seems about right, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yep. I remember reading that headline.
Yeah.
What publication was that in?
Daily Beast.
Yeah. They have paywalls, so my paywall getter over thing doesn't work anymore.
Oh, ooh.
Those are my words not working. But what do you
Well,
call that? The thing you didn't get through the
yeah, it breaks the payroll. It's also
Thank you.
None of them work for me. So
Yeah. I had one that was working for a while, but it's not anymore. Anyway, we have like a minute left.
I know. Let's do something happy. We've been like, well, George Santos is happy, and
I'm very happy about George Santos.
Is happy.
So, I'm happy that the FDA approved the birth control pill to be sold over the counter.
Yes, that's a major
really
big deal. Yeah.
I'm happy that in Illinois, what did Pritzker just sign? Governor Pritzker just signed
something to allow, basically that to be done in the states.
To be done.
The FDA approved it, and he basically got it
law.
right onto the shelves, which is great.
So I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
Trying to think what else.
I mean, it's been, like I said, it's been sort of a fire hose of good and bad. It's like for every good, you get a slew of bad, so it goes back and forth. But the debt ceiling is going to be the biggest topic coming forward. And
when is the date? What's the June 1st, right?
And they're trying, Republicans are basically trying to make Biden preside over a shitty economy by them breaking the economy.
And it's still not working.
It's not working yet, but I mean, if they break the debt ceiling, it will work, I'm afraid.
But they're not going to break the debt ceiling.
I don't think so. I think in the end, Democrats are going to save the day.
They never let it. You know, they just, they don't want, even Republicans know they don't want America to default.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're done, and that's where we're going to end. So this has been the MOMocrats podcast, and we're a member of the Demcast network, and I don't have all the little notes that Donna has, so we'll just say goodbye.
Okay, and we missed you, Donna.
Bye-bye.
Bye.